This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. My guest today is Paolo Ardoino. Paolo is the CTO at Bitfinex and also at Tether, and he is also part of the team behind the El Salvador Bitcoin Bond, which is what we are here to talk about today. But before we do, Paolo, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, so first of all, thank you very much, Andy, for hosting me today. So my entire career has been the one of a developer. So I started coding at a really early age. I was probably 8. There was not much to do, in my house. Was living in the countryside, not many friends nearby. So then coding has been my passion for the entire life. Apart some, trying to play guitar in a metal band, but then went to the university. Graduated in computer science and math applied to computer science. Then started looking at finance as a big opportunity for a developer, and then had the luck of meeting Giancarlo, the CFO of Bitfinex and Tether, that he introduced me first to Bitfinex. Bitfinex at that time was 2014, had some quite some big issues in terms of performance of the platform, scalability, and so on. So I was called to help in scaling the platform for mass adoption. And then in 2017, I started to be part also the Tether team. And then today, I'm part of 2 big families and have the chance to work with brilliant people.
Fantastic. And yeah, I mean, obviously Bitfinex and Tether are, 2 of the biggest names in the crypto space. So look, depending on how we go, maybe we'll circle back and just kind of get some updates on where everything is at in the big powerhouses, if you like, of Bitfinex and Tether. But yeah, well, tell us, Paolo, what is the background to, I don't know how you want to approach this, but what is the background to the Bitcoin Bond in terms of your involvement? I mean, I know some of the connecting dots myself, but it's probably better if you explain it.
Bitfinex Bitfinex Securities is actually the technological provider for El Salvador to issue this crypto bond or crypto token with bond-like features. So let me take a step back.
Please.
Bitfinex has worked since the last 2 years in trying to expand its offering outside of the crypto world, right? So we have seen some mainstream exchanges like the CME and even New York Stock Exchange and a few others from the mainstream finance started moving steps towards crypto. So they started offering crypto products, maybe derivatives, maybe also spot. And it's clear that crypto has become an industry so big that mainstream finance couldn't not tap into it. And we started realizing that pretty early in Bitfinex, and we said, well, if they are basically coming for crypto, we should really go for the stock market and traditional finance. But we should also, while doing this, leverage all the improvements to the user experience, to the KYC process, and to the design and so on, and marketing that crypto has made possible, and bring all these improvements to that enormous community that is now trading traditional financial products. So imagine, usually, you know, the Nasdaq and New York Stock Exchange, the London Stock Exchanges, they serve a really limited number of customers. So and then all these customers are usually brokers or banks that then resell or give access to the, you know, the stocks, the bonds, the ETFs, and so on through a variety, through thousands of different user experiences, some good, some bad. So what crypto is all about, bringing together retail, professional, institutions. We spend an enormous amount of time in building and moving from, you know, what were platforms that in early times in 2013, 14, 15 were just websites, felt like some trading platforms in crypto felt more like e-commerces than actual trading platforms. So we went through many different iterations in terms of product improvements, design improvements, communication improvements, and so on, that helped us to start understanding better our audience. And we found out that our audience initially was just, you know, enthusiasts, then they became professionals, then people from traditional finance started to jump ship and started to be involved in crypto and so on. So we amassed so much knowledge in the last 10 years that now we want to use this knowledge to trying to improve the traditional financial products and offerings. So 2 years ago, we started looking around and see which jurisdictions could allow us to access a license that would allow us to trade these securities, to put in a simple way. And there were not many options. So we looked at Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan had a financial, just set up at that time, a new financial zone in Astana called AFC, that was allowing exchanges, but any type of company, to offer securities in a controlled environment, in a regulated environment. But the particularity of that regulatory environment is that it was also crypto friendly. Usually, when you go to a regulator as a crypto first company, they always look at you as, you know, someone that is scary in a certain sense or risky. But Kazakhstan was quite open to that. And so it took 18 months to obtain that license. The Kazakh regulator was extremely thorough. So, and during these 18 months, we developed a platform that allows to do IPOs, capital raises for bonds and for funds. So basically, we built an entire platform apart from the trading engine from the trading platform that we have. We built also a platform that would allow our customers to participate in capital raises, in IPOs, in primary issuances. Because our business model was and is still today, our idea, our plan is to go after that enormous area of companies that are valuated from $50 million to $500 million that cannot easily get access to be listed on the London Stock Exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, because they are not unicorns right now. It's all about unicorns. But in emerging markets, there are plenty of companies that are super interesting. They are creating really many jobs. They employ many people in these markets. They are unicorns for their own markets. And we wanted to create a place for them where they could raise capital through fiat, but it's also especially through crypto. And at the same time, we wanted to offer, for the last 6 years, the crypto markets, the crypto industry went through enormous steps and difficulties to try to make sure that each token was not looking like a security, right? So every token always trying to not look like a security, while securities have really important benefits, like they can offer interest, they can offer coupons, and so on. So that is a massive market. We realize that there is an enormous opportunity for companies and investors So we created Bitfinex Securities. So fast forward to till a few months ago, a couple of months ago, El Salvador was started to be interested in raising capital for their new product, this so-called Volcano Bond. And the Volcano Bond is a new thing for the world. So is $1 billion issuance, where 50% is will be, so $500 million will be dedicated to buy bitcoins that will remain locked for 5 years, and $500 million will be used to build infrastructure in El Salvador, among which also mining infrastructure. So Blockstream has led this process with the El Salvador to give them information, to talk about infrastructure, to teach and educate the government about all these type of things. But still, the government and the El Salvador didn't have a platform that would allow them to raise capital. And that's basically how we got connected. So Bitfinex Securities is the perfect place for companies and also countries to potentially raise capital through a new wave of wealth, that is the crypto wealth, with a new experience, with an experience that is designed towards actual customers and has been refined over a decade.
Very nice, Paolo. Thank you for that. So effectively, the relevant parties that have come together to put this together, yourself and Bitfinex, or Bitfinex Securities, Blockstream, I suppose Samson Mao and his team there with Blockstream and the Liquid Network, and of course the political leadership team, if you like, in El Salvador. And this all came together, as you say, really just at the end of last year or a few months ago, didn't it?
Yeah, it's extremely recent. I think that so we got we had that call from Samsung and Blockstream. Was, I believe, early November. So just a few days before the announcement. So again, they needed really a platform that could make this connection. And also Bitfinex is known as one of the OG platforms, if not the OG platform, right? So we have, of course, we support many cryptocurrencies, but our love is actually Bitcoin, right? So we always dedicated and had an eye for all Bitcoin technologies. So a bond that is backed by Bitcoin, that is focusing on Bitcoin infrastructure, of course, we are pleased that we could be the home for such product.
And so, again, just for listeners that missed it, I guess the high level summary of the bond, and please correct me if I get this wrong, but the idea is El Salvador will issue a $1 billion US Volcano Bond or Bitcoin bond on the Liquid Network. That's Blockstream, and the raise, it's a capital raise, 1 billion. So half of that, 500 million, is allocated to, I suppose, a Bitcoin buy, and the remaining 500 million is put aside for an infrastructure build out, which means the Bitcoin city, I think, in El Salvador, and of course also the mining infrastructure around the geothermal energy related to the volcano, which of course is why it's called a volcano bond. And I mean, it's just so interesting, Paolo. There's so much going on, because there was so much excitement when, Jack Mallers, of course, from Strike, was one of the first on the ground in El Salvador to kind of start putting all this together, and then when there was a series of announcements that led up to the president of El Salvador announcing the Bitcoin would become legal tender in El Salvador, which of course was very exciting, and that he would engage the country to begin volcano mining, very exciting. And then of course next we had this announcement of the Volcano Bond. Obviously hugely exciting for Bitcoiners, but it's not without, how would you say, I suppose, let's just say, it's caused a certain amount of geopolitical tensions, if you like, which is what, Bitcoiners have always been excited by, who would be the first nation state to begin that kind of game theory process. The established people like the IMF are not very pleased, and so I guess, there's just a lot going on. So I'd love to just kind of get your take on what you think is happening here, and what did you think when you first heard that El Salvador would make a Bitcoin legal tender, and was there any kind of, I don't know how, reputational risk, if you like, or anything like that from your team when you were first approached to start to get involved?
From my point of view, definitely, this is something unprecedented. Yes. And when you deal with something unprecedented, there are always concerns. I think that from my side and from our team side, we were extremely excited, and we are still extremely excited. The reason is that this can be part of this is history, right? So this is an historical moment. And this could be the first time that a country or a country, that a country or like a group of people, an exponent of a country, actually trying to raise money for the benefit of their own country through not passing through the standard banking channels. This is a way to disintermediate the issuer with the investor, and in this way, fees are going down. The majority of the money would actually remain in the pockets of or will end up in the pockets of the issuer so that is the thing that really excites me, right? So we have been living for hundreds of years in a world where banks could dictate any terms, could decide everything, and there was no other option for people, but also for governments to then basically use banks to get money. To borrow money, and this is the first time that actually this can be a game changer. So that is really the thing that excites me most. Other countries could follow the same process and follow through, where hopefully the El Salvador will succeed. So, and this is not just for countries, right? So I think that big companies can start doing the same. As I said, Bitfinex Securities is a platform for tokenized bonds. So we can, with Bitfinex Securities, we can offer a place for issuers to raise, $100 million in debt, so that they can pay an interest on a long period of time to the investors under a fully regulated regime. And that's something that now usually only few services, banks could do at a really big scale. So that's where we want to. This is where we wanted to go, and of course, working with such an important project for us has been super exciting.
So, what's the timeline on the bond, Paolo? And also, so firstly, what is the timeline? And also, how does it work in terms of who is it open to? Who can actually invest in this product?
So the timeline should be pretty quick. So a lot of work has been done, and the plan is to have the issuer being ready to issue this bond within the next month. So it could change a few weeks, but that's basically, we are not talking about years. It's just, few weeks or 1 month and a half away. That's basically the timeline. And sorry, what was the other question?
So who can participate?
Oh, yes. So the president of El Salvador suggested that anyone from the $100 size and above could participate. Of course, that is also dependent. So although the issuer is preparing to fulfill that requirement, also that will depend from the last version of the regulation that the El Salvador government is working on. So just to also add a bit of color, there was no regulation in El Salvador that could allow companies like Bitfinex Securities to operate. So what we acted also as advisors in terms of what a company like Bitfinex Securities, which type of regulations a company like Bitfinex Securities will need in order to operate under in a regulated environment. So that's what the El Salvador government has been worked since in the last 2 months, prepare a regulatory framework for companies like us to operate and allow issuer to issue tokens on platforms, on cryptocurrency based platforms. So just to answer to your question then, so ideally everyone that is verified on Bitfinex Securities can participate. So Bitfinex does not serve US customers and Canadians, but serves almost every other jurisdiction in the world.
Okay, very interesting, very interesting. And I mean, what sort of interest are you getting in the product then? And I know I suppose it's it's slightly awkward timing. It's awkward timing for everyone. It's awkward timing for El Salvador. It's awkward timing for I guess Michael Saylor and anyone that bought Bitcoin sort of at the end of last year or in November at the new all-time high, and now obviously anyone that is a long-term Bitcoin holder, they're not worried by the current correction. We understand that Bitcoin is volatile, crypto is volatile. It does go up and down. The price you pay for the potential upside appreciation is, you have to stomach the downturns as well. With that said, it just does make this harder, right? When you've got it, just gives ammunition to the no coiners or the anti-crypto people to say, well, this is already a failed experiment. So I suppose what I'm saying, Paolo, in that context, does that change things? Does it make it more challenging?
So this is a really good point, Andy. So definitely the recent last 2-3 weeks for the Bitcoin price went great. So definitely it makes it more challenging. Also, timing to market is critical, right? So this is a decision for the issuer. We are, again, just a technological provider, but I would imagine that the issuer would be careful in choosing the right moment to issue $1 billion. So at the around the all-time high, that was basically the time when this idea started floating around and the announcement was made. There was a huge excitement by many parties we were talking to. So, and there is still. So everyone really is excited in this product for particular reasons. It's not just about money. Again, this is an historical moment. So the many people I talk to and companies, they are interested to invest for the very same reason that for years, Bitcoiners said that the most important moment and the actual, the most important moment for Bitcoin was actually seeing Bitcoin being tested in a massive real world scenario.
Yes.
And this is the first time that it can happen, right? We kept telling each other and ourselves, Bitcoin can save countries. And so this is the first time where people can put their money where their mouth is. And so many of the people I'm talking to are feeling the urge of making sure that this is going to be succeeding in experiment. Of course, this is $1 billion, so it will not sell it out in one day, right? So, but definitely, if the issuer gets the right time into the market, we are seeing enormous interest from our user base anyway.
Yeah, so if I can read between the lines, and I would never want to put words in your mouth there, but you're saying that there's a lot of interest from, I suppose, established Bitcoiners, companies, brands in the ecosystem that are, well, they were incentivized to see this work, but they just want to see this work because it is one of the most important steps on that, potential path to hyper Bitcoination. Is that how you say that? Yeah. And as you've said, it is actually and one of the more historic moments in Bitcoin's short history, in that we do have, the first nation state to make Bitcoin a legal tender, and go a step further and wanting to set up the Bitcoin city, volcano mining, all that stuff. So I maybe if we zoom out a bit, Paolo, what are your thoughts on the kind of the wider context here and the game theory involved? Do you sort of subscribe to that hyper Bitcoination theory? And what do you think will happen this year with other nation states? There's been all sorts of rumors, everyone from Panama to Argentina to Tonga. I'm sure I'm missing a few. But any insights or opinions from yourself on what's likely to happen this year in terms of that geopolitical game theory?
So I think that there will be definitely many countries interested too, that they are watching what is happening with El Salvador. And in case of success, definitely they would be interested to replicate the very same success. So I cannot share the names, but we are discussing with a few other countries, definitely interested to either adopt Bitcoin at the country level, or create financial zones in the country with dedicated land to build Bitcoin style cities. So Bitcoin city style cities. So cities or areas or zones, as they can call them, that have different financial rules. So they, of course, the civil law still applies, and the part of the criminal law still applies, but the financial law can be adjusted to be Bitcoin first. And there are a few also private companies that are working with governments to achieve this. So buying, enough land, we are talking about land of the size of 2-3 times of Monaco in between Italy and France, and establish there Bitcoin cities with Bitcoin first finance, and with adjust different taxes, different regulations. And that is extremely interesting. And in a certain sense, we Bitcoiners have always dreamed about the Bitcoin citadel. And this is kind of where we are going.
Well, okay. So, I mean, yeah, sounds amazing, Paolo. And so just, for the record, you said, and I know you're not going to name them, but you're talking to a number of nation states, I think is what you said. So just give us a bit more context here. Like, what kind of people are you talking to? Are you talking to, presidents and the kind of the political leaders, or are they opposition politicians who are just interested in, building a platform on Bitcoin? And I'm sure it's a range of people, but just love to, get a bit more color there.
Is actually is a range of people, right? So from important business people and companies that have good connection with governments, sometimes directly with government exponents. I don't think we are talking with oppositions, in the sense that we don't mean any harm, right? So we don't want to see any we don't want to cause any trouble. So, but we are asked about how this can actually work in a country. So we are basically just giving our 2 cents in a way on how, and advising them how this how a crypto platform could support governments in adopting Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in a deeper way into the country economy.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. It makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I think it's very exciting. Well, just as we start to finish off this part of the podcast, Paolo, look ahead. What do you see happening this year? I know that's it's just speculation, but it just feels like we've come so far. 2021 was obviously an incredible year for Bitcoin and also the wider industry as well. There's we really are, it feels like, just kind of on the edge of mainstream adoption almost. Are we crossing the chasm? There's an incredible amount of interest in Web3, the metaverse. NFTs are just exploding, and I see all that stuff as just a really interesting and exciting new way for people to enter the crypto space. Not everyone was always going to be interested in kind of trading obscure crypto tokens. It just doesn't make sense for everyone. But NFTs just provide, as I say, an exciting new entry point. So I guess what I'm saying is just, what do you see? You obviously have an incredibly large user base at Bitfinex and Tether. What are you and your teams kind of looking for across this year?
So the most exciting thing we are working on is actually Lightning Network. So no, definitely there are NFTs are having a big boom in this moment. So we are seeing a lot of interest there. At the same time, I'm a little bit scared that NFTs, as we know them today, as popular they are today, remember a little bit the ICO boom in 2017.
Yes.
So I prefer usually to see, and I really love NFTs as a technology, because they are the correct and rightful replacement of gift tokens, of reward points from the different, maybe Starbucks or the big chains. So I think that or you can use NFTs to actually attest ownership of something physical, right? So I just don't like a gift of a pair of shoes cost more than the actual physical shoes. That is the thing that I don't like. Yes, they can be used in a metaverse, but it's different than having shoes that can keep your feet warm. So I think that they should be priced in different ways. So I'm always a bit afraid of the speculation that the new technologies can bring. But of course, I embrace new technologies. I believe that, and eventually there is no way that every time happens that new technologies are used in all the crazy possible ways, and then eventually things settle, and then they start to get more adopted for the right purposes for which they were created for. So for me, Lightning Network is actually something that everyone should be working on this year. We have seen a massive growth in Lightning Network in 2021. I'm proud that both Bitfinex and Tether have been among the companies that have funded Lightning Network-based projects. And honestly, it's not that easy because every exchange, every well, not almost every exchange and many VCs and almost every VC in our industry, in the crypto industry, tend to invest in things that have a super high return fast, right? So with Bitcoin, there is no, so with Lightning Network, you cannot sell another token, right? There is, you know, it's Bitcoin. And we, as Tether, we are also sponsoring projects that aim to build token support for Lightning Network. And again, there is not for that is a protocol, right? So we don't intend to release any token to govern the ability of issuing tokens. So you see how investors definitely prefer to pour money into things that will make them 10x, 100x, and so on, while ground-based project or infrastructural project for the Bitcoin industry, for Lightning Network, and so on, are underfunded. And that's why I'm really proud that with the money that part of the money that Bitfinex and Tether are making, we can sponsor projects that are pushing for filling the gaps between Lightning Network and the rest of the crypto industry. So I want tokens to be secured by the Bitcoin network. I want NFTs to travel on the Lightning Network. And the reason is that I believe that in order to reach mass adoption, that is something that you mentioned before, if we are ready for mass adoption, I believe that the crypto industry is not ready for mass adoption just because there is nothing that will scale for mass adoption. We are seeing that blockchains that claim a really high throughput and thousands of transactions per second, actually they are not ready. And the problem is physical. There is a problem of the speed of light that requires that if you want to build a blockchain that is a layer one that handles tens of thousands transactions per second, the speed of light becomes pretty quickly an issue. Unless you centralize everything, you cannot reach that throughput. And the only way I'm talking for pure science and computer science point of view, the only way to fix that problem is actually Lightning Network and having a pure peer-to-peer system. Put in simple terms, imagine that, you know, while we are in our nice bubble, not because it's a bubble in terms of financial terms and financial meaning, but it's because sometimes I met many people that think that the entire world revolves around crypto. And that is quite far from reality, right? The entire world is also developing artificial intelligence, is developing self-driving cars, is developing Internet of Things, and so on. And all these things are growing at a crazy pace as crypto is growing as well. And we are going to live in a future where machine-to-machine payments are going to be extremely important and widely adopted. So right now already fridges are buying groceries. When they see that you don't have enough cheese in your fridge, you can say you can configure the fridge to buy groceries.
Yes.
And why I'm saying this, because all these things will require payments. Light bulbs can transmit information already. The light bulbs in modern houses are connected. Everything is connected. Cars will be able to pay for their fill of the tank. So many transactions will be needed. So you don't need just hundreds of thousands transactions per second. You need millions and millions, tens of millions of transactions per second. And you know, you can imagine that I don't care, and if what your fridge is going to buy for you today, because that's why I should care. And that's what these centralized layer one blockchains are trying to do. Basically trying to get as fast as they can on a problem that will not anyway scale. While Lightning Network allows you and me to establish a channel where we can exchange financial information for the things that matter you and me. And maybe they don't matter to my neighbor, right? So that is how you scale. You have to compartmentalize, you have to segregate information, financial information, make them secure still, but that is how you scale. And then you settle periodical this information on the most secure network in the world, that is Bitcoin.
Yeah, wonderfully said, Paolo. I really enjoyed that, and again, I can tell, just reading between the lines, it's good to hear people such as yourself, really acting, I suppose, as stewards of the space, and certainly as stewards of Bitcoin. I think you have a very good understanding of the importance of Bitcoin. And it's funny how you're talking about all these transactions, millions and millions of transactions every second that we will need to power the Internet of Things, right? Which is kind of what you're talking about. And it reminds me, the example of when your fridge runs out of bread, or your toaster runs out of bread, and you need to make some toast. I don't know if you read. It's a reasonably famous short story, Unauthorized Bread, by Cory Doctorow. It's kind of a dystopian sci-fi story when that things can go wrong really quickly if you try and your toaster tries to order the wrong bread, and then it won't make bread, and you end up starving. And that's kind of the dystopian future of the centralized control over the Internet of Things. So I guess that's a roundabout way of saying very much appreciate the good work that you and your team are doing with Bitcoin and the Lightning Network, and of course El Salvador and so on. So exciting times.
Absolutely. This is, first of all, I'm a really big fan of sci-fi. I have read so many times the Foundation Cycle of Asimov, and one of when I design things, and by the way, we are with Bitfinex and Tether, we are also sponsoring communication platforms that are purely peer-to-peer without, we call them serverless. So without any servers, without any point of failure, because one of the best movies that is not really high rated on IMDb, but still was one of my preferred movies when I was young, was Johnny Mnemonic.
Yes.
Was living in that world where you could carry information in your brain, right? And I feel like we have to prepare for that kind of world. And if we don't, the really 1984 is already reality today, but will be pushed to insane levels. So there is still time to work on privacy protecting systems, and that's another thing that I'm personally really interested in. I mean, I really, my life has been, I've always followed the cypherpunk and cyberpunk movements. That is the thing that actually excites me most of all of what I'm doing.
Absolutely fantastic, Paolo. Well, let's go to a very quick break, and then we'll come back. We'll finish off. We'll have some fun. We'll do the very famous crypto conversation hot take round, and do some more sci-fi, cypher, and cyberpunk stuff. It's going to be fun. We'll be back in 1 second.
In today's crypto market, the team at Brave New Coin are the sector's leading builders of custom crypto indices. BNC's powerful indexing engine draws on Brave New Coin's premium data to calculate high-frequency intraday and end-of-day indices for a wide range of index products. BNC's custom indices help you to gain exposure to the crypto assets class and track your performance against the market without having to become a stock picker. Not sure what you need? A Brave New Coin consultant can help you assess your requirements. Contact BNC today to find out more.
All right, we are back, and I'm with Paolo Ardoino. He is the CTO at Bitfinex and the CTO at Tether, and he is, as you've heard, very involved in the issuance of the soon-to-be issued El Salvador Volcano or Bitcoin bond. And, well, Paolo, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes, just a bit of fun. Are you up for it?
Absolutely. Go for it.
All right, let's go. Question 1 is, Paolo, where do you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-coin opportunist spectrum?
So, personally, I'm basically involved I own only Bitcoin. So that is what I like. I think that it gives me more protection. Definitely might give me short terms less gains than the rest of the cryptocurrencies. We have seen massive growth in certain new cryptocurrencies. But you know, I really love Bitcoin for everything that it stands for. I love Bitcoin because it was created to solve a philosophical and ethical problem, and still today relies on the time, the efforts, the energy of many brilliant people to continue to fight to solve that problem, and also educate other people. Some people, you know, don't even understand that they have a problem. So I love the ethical and philosophical part of Bitcoin more than anything else, honestly. And
makes sense.
That's so I don't judge. I mean, in Bitfinex we are offering many different cryptocurrencies.
Yes.
I think that everyone has the right to choose. I think that that's the only thing that saddens me a little bit is, as I was saying before, the amount of money that is invested in everything that is not Bitcoin is really enormous compared to what is invested in Bitcoin. Not talking about groups, companies and people buying Bitcoin, because that is actually where the most money goes. But at the same time, I'm not seeing from other VCs enough money poured into Bitcoin infrastructure, just because, as I was saying before, everything else is likely to make in the short term higher returns. So again, just to summarize, I think that people should have freedom of decision. I personally like Bitcoin. I personally try to devote most of my time that is not devoted to coding for Bitfinex and Tether, to educating and supporting Bitcoin projects.
Very nicely said, Paolo. Well, what would you say is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
I think that Bitcoin is the best innovation in the last probably 1,000 years.
Very nice. Well, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. Look, so as a coder, as a programmer, as a developer, you'd be all too aware of that. But so whatever you like here, but let's probably say Bitcoin, maybe even on a kind of a global geopolitical scale, speculation, but what does it look like in 10 years' time?
I think that in 10 years' time, so you imagine that in 2016, that was basically 5 years ago, 5-6 years ago, there was nothing. There was even almost no tokens. There was actually nothing. So imagine what we did in last 5 years, and then and given the fact that the pace is increasing, it's going to be mind-blowing how everything will look like in 10 years from now. I believe that in 10 years from now, in general, seeing also regulations coming up, customer protection rules and laws and everything, so we will see definitely less blockchains. So only, let's say, the most active, the real strong blockchains with a real community will survive in 10 years. And then, of course, there will be Bitcoin that will be the king, and in my opinion will reaffirm even more strongly as the king. And I believe that we'll see definitely many countries using Bitcoin, many companies are transacting in Bitcoin through Lightning Network. So I believe that Lightning Network will be actually the perfect complement for IoT. So that is not just necessarily Bitcoin on Lightning Network, could be also tokens like Tether and stablecoins in general on Lightning Network. And we'll see everything like all the user, all the people going to, taking the London Tube or getting reward points from Starbucks, McDonald's, or buying these shops, they will all use a blockchain-based payment system. I believe that Visa and MasterCard will die. They don't have actually a future. They don't have a reason to exist anymore. So I think that we will see huge changes, unexpected changes in the next 10 years. It will be like seeing the advent of the smartphone, where companies like Nokia and the BlackBerry lost their massive, enormous power because they couldn't really follow quickly enough the new trend.
Yeah, well, and the reverse of that, of course, is a famous quote by sci-fi author William Gibson, who said that the future is already here; it's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example of the future being here right now, Paolo? But most people just aren't really aware of it.
Well, definitely, the future looks much more present to rich people than poor people, right?
Yes.
So I think that is also one of the issues that I don't pretend to solve the world poverty issue or the world famine issue and so on. So, but I believe that strong companies and wealthy companies that were able to leverage cryptocurrencies in an early stage should give back to emerging markets and poorer populations. That's why I'm excited to work in Latin America, in Africa, and so on, because I believe that there is so much we can do, and all this, there is one of the biggest problems that I'm seeing is the ever-growing number of unbanked people, and these people are not bad people, right? They are just too poor. And this is just crazy to be said, right? Someone, if you think about it, there is someone that is too poor to have a bank account. And the reason is that for banks, keeping bank accounts open is extremely expensive. So in order for them to allow you to have a bank account, you have to reach at least the minimum amount of wealth. And that is really sad, because there is these billions of good people. They have to go through really expensive and high and services that have high fees in order to send some money home or have a loan with crazy interest rates and so on, just because they are too poor for everything else. And the fact that they cannot get a fair access to financial systems will ensure that they will remain poor. And that is not fair. That is also, I believe, one of the missions of Bitcoin, is to give the same type of access to everyone, independently from who they are, where they are, and so on. And this is this is quite important to me. That is exactly the concept of peer-to-peer. That if you read what the exact meaning of peer-to-peer is, peers being peers, right? So everyone is at the same level, should be counted as one in a system and in an interconnected system. And that's something that actually only cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin first can solve.
Nicely said again, Paolo. So as we start to finish off, time to get weird, time to zoom out. What do you see as the long-term future for the human race? Do you see dystopia or utopia?
Definitely dystopia. I don't think we will. I don't think the human race will be able to govern itself in any meaningful way to reach an utopia state of either financial state or community state or existential state. I think that I think that the future will see underground communities and cities, and a more foreground, highly highly regulated but also highly controlled population. And you know, these in a certain sense, what is happening with this entire COVID situation shows that people don't mind to be subject to additional controls. I'm not talking about pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine and so on, just in general, states are putting more control over people and people don't seem to mind too much. And I believe that the future will just be like this on steroids though.
Yes. Hard to argue with that. All right, let's start to close this out. We've talked a little bit about it already, but finally, Paolo, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, TV show, or universe?
So I would say The Foundations from Asimov is probably the most mind-opening series of books that I have ever read. And
utopian as well.
Yes, absolutely, but it's mind-opening because it's so wide. I mean, there are so many details. It feels like you are living there when you are reading those books. I never have read books so precise, so detailed, so real, that and at the same time so futuristic that still would make you feel that you are living there, you are on those planets, right? So, and yes, it's kind of utopian, but you know, I maybe when Asimov was writing those books, the future was looking brighter. Right now, I don't have the same feeling.
That's right, and I love that you mentioned Johnny Mnemonic. How do I say that? Yeah, which is also, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page for it now, and it's from 1995. So it's just starring, of course, Keanu Reeves, and from a screenplay by William Gibson, and sort of. Yeah, it's not a hugely well-known film, but a kind of an early version of The Matrix in some ways, right?
It is. First of all, yes, Keanu Reeves was a really brilliant actor there. So there was also, if I recall correctly, there was a dolphin that was really the mastermind around everything that was happening to Johnny, to Johnny Mnemonic, and. So it was like really crazy, but I recall that, you know, that in a way the movie was fascinating to me because, you know, there were he was living in this world with all this high control over data, right? So you can definitely argue that data will be the most valuable thing in the future, and data of people, data of companies. And you know, instead of carrying drugs or carrying you know, guns and weapons and so on, he was carrying data in his mind, and that was illegal, right? Buying and selling data was considered illegal and not had to be controlled by the government, right? So I think that we definitely that is where we are going.
Absolutely. Fascinating stuff. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun, Paolo. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us. Going to be another incredible year for Bitcoin, I think. And look, can't wait to see all this play out. So I really wish you and your team and Samson at Blockstream and everyone involved the best of luck with the Bitcoin bond. And I think we all want to see the El Salvador Bitcoin experiment go well. Obviously, yeah, it's going to be a bumpy ride. But look, thank you so much for coming on. Please close it out. Just tell the people where they can go to follow you on your various platforms, and if they want to, you know, learn more about the El Salvador Volcano Bond and potentially get involved and support it, participate, how they should do so.
Sure. So people can follow me on Twitter, Paolo Ardoino, name, surname, all attached, or can follow Bitfinex at Bitfinex or at Tether_TO. In order to get more involved, understand, and follow the development of the Volcano Bond, you can just follow myself or Samson Mo, Excellion, at Excellion, his Twitter handle, or Blockstream directly. So I think that is going to be an exciting new year. I think that we'll see, and we will, as a community, not just ourselves, will make great things. And thank you very much, Andy, for your time and for having hosted me today.
All right. Thanks, Paolo. All the best, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Boom. There you go. How good was that? Yeah, absolutely fascinating talking to Paolo there, and good to hear his perspectives, and good to hear that he's obviously such a passionate and committed Bitcoiner, as I think, anyone that's behind, the El Salvador experiment on the ground, if you like, and helping to support the first nation state to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender. Obviously those guys are very passionate and committed Bitcoiners, which is good to see. As I said, going to be fascinating to see whether they can all pull this off, and certainly hope that they can. And incredible to hear that Paolo and his team are talking to, I don't know, how many did he say? A number of other nation states. I mean, we don't know how far along those discussions are, but sometimes this stuff, as we like to say, it happens slowly at first, and then it happens suddenly. So yeah, just going to be incredible to see if other nation states follow this year, and what the implications of that will be. And Johnny Mnemonic. Have you seen that film? It's from 1995. I think I have seen it, but probably not since the 90s. So that's a while ago. But yeah, there's a cybernetic dolphin involved. So yeah, if you want a different take on The Matrix, starring, of course, Keanu Reeves, maybe Johnny Mnemonic is worth another watch. Yeah, all right. This was a fun one. I hope you enjoyed that, team. Please make sure you subscribe to the Crypto Conversation podcast in whatever podcast app you are using. If you did enjoy the show, please give us a 5-star rating in Apple iTunes or the Apple Podcast app. But yeah, that's us for today. We'll see you next time. We'll see you real soon. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin.